Man detained for protesting National Guard with Star Wars song sues. ACLU lawsuit says detention violated rights of a man who followed National Guard patrols in D.C. while playing the Imperial March. Members of the West Virginia National Guard at the Lincoln Memorial on August 30. Craig Hudson for The Washington Post, a district resident who was briefly detained and handcuffed in D.C. last month for following an Ohio National Guard patrol while playing the Imperial March from Star Wars on his phone, has filed a lawsuit saying his constitutional rights were violated. The American Civil Liberties Union of D.C. filed the lawsuit Thursday in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia on behalf of Sam O'Hara against an Ohio National Guard sergeant for D.C. police officers and the District of Columbia. The suit said they had infringed on O'Hara's First Amendment rights and violated D.C. law when they detained him on September 11 on a public street in Northwest Washington. The ACLU suit says that when O'Hara saw the National Guard members that day, he began walking behind them playing the Imperial March on his phone and recording them. It alleges that within 2 minutes, one of the Guard members turned around and threatened to call the police officers to handle Mr. O'Hara if he did not stop. O'Hara continued to play the song, also known as Darth Vader's theme, and the soldier called the D.C. police. When police arrived, the suit alleges, O'Hara was tightly handcuffed and detained for 15 to 20 minutes. Government conduct of this sort might have received legal sanction a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the ACLU wrote in its filing. But in the here and now, the First Amendment bars government officials from restraining individuals from recording law enforcement or peacefully protesting, and the Fourth Amendment, along with the district's prohibition on false arrest, bars groundless seizures. A D.C. police spokesman said the department cannot comment on active litigation. A spokesperson for the D.C. Joint Task Force, the military mission that includes Guard members from D.C. and other states participating in the deployment Trump ordered in August, said they could not comment on pending litigation. On August 11, President Donald Trump declared a crime emergency and ordered the takeover of law enforcement in D.C. and the deployment of National Guard troops to patrol the city's streets. The move was widely criticized by district leaders and residents. About 8 in 10 residents opposed Trump's executive order to federalize law enforcement, with about 7 in 10 opposing it strongly, according to a Washington Post Char School poll theme. Video, The Washington Post. In late August, O'Hara, 35, began filming National Guard troops in D.C. while playing the Imperial March from his phone or a handheld speaker. He posted the videos to his TikTok account. In an interview Wednesday, O'Hara said he wanted to be clear that the videos are not intended to mock the National Guard troops. I think the men and women who signed up to serve their country did not have this in mind, that they would be policing their fellow citizens, O'Hara said. My protest is to make sure that everyone knows that this is coming from the top. These orders are coming from an administration that seeks to use fear and tactics to make sure their power extends to branches of government where it doesn't belong. Skip to end of carousel. Make the most of the DMV with our newsletter. Make living in DC a little easier and more fun. Sign up for the Post local newsletter to get local news, weather and expert advice, where to eat, where to drink and how to get around, every weekday. End of carousel. In its filing, the ACLU argued that O'Hara's detention clearly violated his right to criticize the deployment of the Guard and the government's actions. The government doesn't get to decide if your protest is funny, and the government officials can't punish you for making them the punchline. That's really the whole point of the First Amendment, Michael Perloff, a senior staff attorney for the ACLU of D.C., said in a statement. O'Hara said he never thought his protest would lead to his being detained, an experience he said felt dangerous and left him embarrassed. He ultimately decided to file a lawsuit because, he said, I would not be able to sleep at night knowing that I did not stand up for myself and stand up for my First Amendment rights. A man who was detained after using a Star Wars-themed protest song to criticize the National Guard has now filed a lawsuit, arguing that his arrest was a violation of his First Amendment rights. The incident began when he played the Imperial March, the iconic Darth Vader theme, during a public appearance by the Guard, using the music as a satirical statement against what he viewed as excessive militarization of local responses. He was detained shortly afterward, raising questions about whether authorities targeted him for the content of his speech rather than any actual disruption or threat. Civil liberties advocates say the case underscores a broader debate about free expression in public spaces, particularly when it involves symbolic or humorous criticism of government institutions. The lawsuit claims wrongful detention and retaliation, seeking not only damages but also a reaffirmation of constitutional protections for peaceful protest. The man's attorneys argue that satire, parody, and cultural references have long been recognized forms of political speech in the United States. The case could set an important precedent for how far the government can go in policing symbolic gestures that challenge or mock state power, especially in an era of heightened political tension.